Iko Nini. So kama kuna story nimekuwa nikifuatilia, ni story fulani ilikuwa on KTN jana usiku. Na story tu ni kitu inakuonyesha vile Ruto ameshindwa kudeal na reality yake. And reality yake ni he's unpopular, and because he's unpopular, a lot of Kenyans are protesting. No one is paying these protesters. People just don't like him. But inakamia hata face reality. So wacha tusikize.
Dawn's KTN can now reveal that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations is putting the final touches on a high-stakes probe targeting former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The investigation centers on allegations that he orchestrated and bankrolled last Wednesday's Gen Z uprising, a day of raging protests that left trails of ruin and claimed more than 10 lives. Within the ranks of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, pressure is boiling over. Allies of President Ruto have trained their sights on Gachagua, demanding that the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, arrest the man they insist is the invisible hand behind the chaos.
So, his story, of course, the president is not stupid. So the president knows that Rigathi Gachagua was not involved. Kwa easy stories are June 25th. So why is he doing this? That's the question you must ask yourself. And the answer is simple. So what's the answer? We'll have to find out.
The level of political anarchy, long fixed to former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, is now being firmly pasted on Gachagua's door.
Yeah, so for a very long time tumekuwa tukijua like mse wa maandamano waga ni Raila. But saizi wanataka kusema ni Gachagua. The difference ni time ya Raila ilikuwa gani yeye. Alikuwa anatokea na watu wake, wanatembea. Nakumbuka ile kuna hii moja, ilikuwa ni baba wa Iliwawe. Ile kuna boy fulani alikuwa short, alikuwa amebeba mtungi ya maji. Sijaisahau hiyo yake. Alafu in the process, I think another thing that happened kwa hiyo protest ni eventually, I think buda anaitwa Sonko alibaki ametokea akasema vile walichoma magari. Ndio Raila kuwe blamed for that. So hizi stories za gava kutumia goons kufanya vitu, it's been happening. This is not the first time that it's happening. What I find interesting is why this time they've decided to put this on someone who's actually not responsible. This is someone who wants to look like he's the leader of Gen Z, and this might actually help him with some, because unajua si kila Gen Z pia si tribal. Kuna wale bado ni tribal. Kitu kama hii kuna vile tabaki imesaidia Gachagua with the so-called tribal Gen Zs. But wacha tusikize reporter.
For decades now, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's name was synonymous with tear gas, running battles, and anger in the streets. A politician whose movements could paralyze entire cities. But now, that spotlight has swung sharply towards the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, with a section of leaders accusing Gachagua of stoking the fires of useful dissent, plotting and paying for a revolt that brought the country to its knees.
Gachagua should be in prison today. He should be out there recording a statement and going to prison and going to court.
If this person claims to speak about, for Mount Kenya people, this is the time we want to hear about those people who lost businesses in town.
So, kona shindwa kwa nini hasa wana target Gachagua? They clearly know that this is not about Gachagua. The reason why they are targeting Gachagua is they want to turn this fight into a tribal fight. This is what they know. They know that Gachagua, like his biggest supporters, kuna majenzi hufurahiaga sana kusikiza Gachagua akidu interviews, but they are not his supporters. His biggest supporters is still his tribal base. So right now there's been the narrative that easy protests always gonna happen in tribal. They have nothing to do with the Gen Z. It's just a bunch of Kikuyus who are unhappy that the president is not a Kikuyu. So that's the narrative they're trying to push. This narrative haishiki. Najua wanairusha, but it's not sticking. So now what do they decide? They decide that if you're to target this Gachagua guy and we end up arresting him, the probability that there's going to be outrage on the mountain is very high. The probability that there's going to be protest in the mountain is very high. Then we can turn around and say, remember, we said this thing was tribal. So that's the whole tactic behind this. And this is kitu interesting because some of the perpetrators, of course, are Kikuyus. So you have akina Kimani Ishongwa. And this is going to also cost innocent Kikuyu lives. Because what's going to happen is naturally everyone knows it's not Gachagua. who's doing this thing. So when this happens, it's going to spark outrage. Of course kuna wasawajenzi wale watakuwa like mwizi ameshikwa na mwizi mwingine, so hakuna haja ya sisi kuwa involved, but kuna that tribal base, and that's what they're trying to stoke. They're trying to stoke those tribal fires, because don't forget, a tribeless Kenya would be very dangerous for present politicians, because that would mean accountability, najua, and that's something they don't want. So this is the reason why wana push narrative, and this is the reason why Wasekaki na Kimani Ichung'wah wako kwa frontline. Because Kimani Ichung'wah pia nikiangalia perspective yake, na yangalia from ile kitu that everyone who's gone to Kikuyu as a constituency, anishaicheki nani Ian aliniambiaga the same thing. I think pia tukibonga off the record ama tukibonga off kabla tuanze, anaitwa nani Maureen Waititu pia alikuwa ananiambia the same thing. Make sure umewatch interview yake, and she was saying that this guy has done a lot, but don't forget politics is emotional, so people don't care how much you've done. So nasikia huko barabara ziko tarmacked, kuna areas zinakaa like unajua ni ziko Karen na ziko Kikuyu, so there's all that, but people still want this guy gone. So with that in mind, kuna vile Kimani Ichung'wah amejam kabisa, and that's why pia he's spreading this false narrative.
I did say here last year during the impeachment process of the former deputy president that this is a dark man with a very dark heart.
Now when you get impeached and you lose your job, you want to take this country to anarchy, Mr. Speaker.
KTN has established that police files are being dusted off and sealed, preparing to indict the former deputy president on charges of funding and staging political violence.
So Macheki, funding and staging political violence. This protest had nothing to do with Gachagua. Kuna vitu kama akina Occupy State House. That's not him. Najua, I don't think any politician would want that, because that would mean that even them wakishaingia into office, other youth can occupy. So don't forget, hizi vitu, it only takes one, and then it keeps happening and happening. And that's why the government even had those barbed wires around parliament, because it can happen again, and around all these other places. So to claim that he's the one behind this is to really try and push the tribal narrative, because this tribal narrative imekuwa ikipushiwa. This past weekend ulicheki kuna ubuda anaitwa nani, ilikuwa ni Mbadi was talking somewhere hapo, alafu akasema that all this is ethnic balkanization. Yes, that's what Mbadi called it, ethnic balkanization. So they are really trying to push the tribal narrative, because without the tribal narrative, it becomes very dangerous to be a Kenyan politician, because then you have to be accountable. You can't run and say watu wangu wanakuwa targeted. You have to be the best. You have to deliver, because if you don't deliver, hauwezi sema watu wangu wanakuwa targeted. So jua sasa now corruption itabaki imeisha, incompetence itabaki imeisha, and that's one thing that Kenyan politicians would never want. And that's the reason sasa wameamua arrest Gachagua, because if we arrest Gachagua, we can cause some sort of ethnic violence, and in the process we can say, you know what, first of all we need to ban the protests because they're bringing back tribalism, and then apart from banning the protest, you see there is no Gen Z protest, it's this guy. And it's not any other tribe, it's just Kikuyus revolting. Na sayo the numbers don't support that. Ukiangalia the people who've been killed, like even out of those 16 people, utapata ni people from different tribes. But us wataendelea kupushi narrative.
I had started with the land of this man on Sunday. He came to my constituency sorting everybody, and he brought this to Nairobi. It is a shame.
The blood of the people who lost their lives, the tears of those whose businesses were broken into, Honorable Speaker, will cry revenge on the life of Rigathi Gachagua.
So, sikia ufala. Unimse yuko na a murder case. So this guy literally has a murder case, and he's here claiming that the lives of what? You can be proven. Ya Gachagua, it's just some bullshit thing that you've come up with. For you to have even the guts to show up and start claiming about the lives of what, shows you the nonsense. And of course, kuna mtu amekuwa kibonga nonsense for a very long time. No mother anaitwa Gladys Bosholei. Undio na last week alikuwa anasema shame on Maraga, and saizi of course hapa she has to do the same thing. Just claim Gachagua has done this and Gachagua has done that.
It's your constitutional right to demonstrate, but you cannot exercise your right while you destroy the properties and the rights of others.
And the owner of that anarchy is known, must be apprehended.
Gachagua's critics continue to ask why he has remained silent, refusing to condemn the looting and vandalism that left hundreds of traders devastated.
Juu ndo ilikuwa matumaini. Juu nimezika mzee 7 months ago.
It's so painful that when incidents of demonstration are happening, sisi watu wa business ndio tunakuwa kama target.
Hapa tuko na maroon, tunalipa. Tutalipa na nini?
Arambe! Arambe!
So, so nacheki hapo, of course they try to stoke people's emotions and stoke their fears and I don't know what, incite people by making people believe that there's this one guy, he's the one who's causing the violence, and apart from the violence, he's also the person who's making businesses zibaki zimepoteza pesa. So what should we do about it? We should arrest him. And kuna watu watashindwa, like, is Ruto stupid? And as I keep saying, Ruto is not stupid. What's going to happen is, if they arrest him, I'm sure, 100% sure, kutakuwa na revolt in Mount Kenya. And the protests are going to lead to the police being deployed and the police using maximum violence. And watu kama kina Kimani Ichung'wah know this. But one thing I've come to learn about Kenyan politicians is they don't care. They don't care how many lives get lost as long as they keep their power. This is like a very interesting thing with these people. That's why mse kama Murkomen alikuwa anabonga juu ya kutandika watu risasi like 5, 6 hakuna shida. Akabaki amepatia an example ya 10, 15 hakuna shida. So hii time yote kibonga tunabonga juu ya opening fire hivi. And I think shida ya Ruto ile kitu nimekam kufind out is this guy wants to be loved. As a leader, I don't think you need unafaa kuwa na hiyo trait. It becomes a weakness. You should not have the need to be loved. You should just do your job and shut up. Just do your job, shut up. People will always complain. There's that one aspect. Whether you're the best or you're not, people will always complain. So, when you know that you're unpopular, because kuna ile watu complain and then you're 50-50. Najua seka kina Uhuru aliangukia. Uhuru by the time watu walikuwa na complain juu yake, the country was really divided along tribal lines. And that didn't matter. It was from the young people to the old people. Right now, there's a whole constituency, the young people who are not focused on tribe. They're focused on good governance. And these are the people that now, if they keep growing, it becomes very dangerous for the government. So the government needs to reset the politics and take it back to tribal politics. And the easiest way to do that is to target the mountain. So this is the reason why this is being used. And I don't think it's going to succeed. It's going to cause a certain level of violence in Mount Kenya. But then straight after, what's going to happen is, after your violence imeisha, watu wata go back to Ruto must go. So this story of Ruto must go is not going anywhere. And all the tactics watatumia has this idea.
However, political commentators warn that any move to cuff Gachagua could prove a double-edged sword, turning him into a martyr of igniting a fresh wave of support, and especially in the Mount Kenya region.
So if the opposition are organizing these things and causing this, unangoja firimbi ya nani kukamata hao watu wa opposition?
Kamata wote.
Yeah. The former deputy president, Gachagua, has already dared the police to go ahead and arrest him, if indeed they have concrete evidence linking him to the Wednesday demonstrations.
So amesema hivyo, kama wako na any proof wabaki wamemwarrest. And I don't know. I don't want to sit in one of these Ruto meetings and just listen. Najua mnasema be a fly on the wall, because I don't want to see yes, we want to play this tribal card and we want to really use it and see and make Kenyans feel like this thing is just one tribe that's revolting. Lakini sasa kile iko ni, how can we keep doing this? How can we keep using this tribal card? Because this tribal card is very dangerous, because it leads to violence. And as a president, your work should be trying to unite the country as much as possible. So if you're here telling your CSs to go around telling people that this is nothing but tribalism that's causing the youth to be unhappy, it's very dangerous. Because when I look at this thing, hata nikienda online, tunamsekanya kundi, because Ruto must go. That's a kisi. Nione nani tena? Nione kuna watu wale kama nani Hanifa, Somali. Acheki Boniface Mwangi Kikuyu, kuna waseka sisi kwa podcast Luo mimi mtasema he must go. So why? What are you trying to do with this thing? The difference is when you arrest Gachagua, you're going to cause violence. You're going to cause, because people know he's not the reason. So when you do this, you're intentionally causing violence. And apart from that, you're asking your interior CS to tell people that hata watu wakiuliwa 5 wauliwe 10 hakuna shida. So I don't know what the president hopes to benefit with this, or hopes to achieve with this. But one thing ile najua ni arresting Gachagua is going to reset us, take some of us back to tribal politics. It's going to be there for some time, but still the wave is there. And the only way that the president can survive this, I don't know. It's just maybe do his job, maybe less killings. Instead of threatening people with more killings, think about less killings. And see how it goes. And if you lose, you lose. Kuna kuagana ujinga that these politicians always feel entitled. Kama niko nasikiza ubuda anaitwa Duale, and Duale was talking about the fact that the other president got 2 terms, and that means that Ruto must get 2 terms. It doesn't work that way. If that was the reason, that's how things work, then it means that hatufai could have elections, because everyone is supposed to get 10 years. But it does not work that way. You're supposed to get your 5 years, and if you get your 5 years and you lose, you get your 5 years and you lose. Others have been lucky. Kibaki was lucky. He lost, but he was able to rig. That time, hakukuwa na a lot of scrutiny. Right now, there's so much scrutiny that rigging a second term, I don't know how you're going to do it. And Miss Jui vile utaifanya. But wacha tusikize Duale.
Hata kama ma president 5, wewe umetupatia president 3, that does not give you the power to feel that you are more superior. That nyinyi mnashangaa. Mimi namwambia mheshimiwa huyu leader of majority, mimi na Wandai tukukaa kwa cabinet, Wajaluo wako na wangapi? 2. Wasomali 1. Wafugaji wote tuko na 3. 14 counties. Serikali yote ni yako. Wewe ukajitoa. Alafu saa hii kama Kibaki alipewa 10, Uhuru alipewa 10, Mkenya mwingine atapewa 10 yake.
So umecheki hiyo statement vile imeanza akibonga jia 3 presidents have come from the Kikuyu community. And sasa anasema that Wakikuyu wana feel entitled. So this is the narrative that's being pushed. They are pushing the tribal narrative. And as I keep saying, don't fall for it. The whole reason behind this is, if there is no tribalism, the present political system collapses. And with that comes accountability. Kuna vitu mobs huonaga from foreign countries and we admire. Najua hilo unaonaga, like someone is accused of corruption and they step aside. Someone is done this and they do this. That's the level we are going to reach. Don't forget that Kenya has very competent people. A company like Safaricom, for example, is one of the most profitable. And apart from being one of the most profitable, it's the company that really popularized kutumia simu kama pesa, kutembea na cashless. Najua this is a phenomenon that even countries kama China may take to the next level. I don't think they started using their phones before Kenya. Sisi ndo watu tulikuwa. So you can look at how companies, these private companies, do amazing things. So with that in mind, you have to try and imagine, what if we had competent government people, like people who could do stuff without thinking of how they are going to benefit. Because don't forget, because these private companies, you're not going there to inflate things. Kama computer ni 20 shillings, hautaandika 50. Najua, because them they're trying to make profit, and you are accountable to shareholders. So that means you're going to get the best deal. But when it comes to this Kenya as a country, they buy these things at inflated prices and they do all this nonsense. So for them, it's very dangerous for the system to collapse, the tribal system. Because if this tribal system collapses, a lot of them might end up in jail. And apart from jail, a lot of them might end up poor. Najua, because most of their wealth is ill-gotten. So this is the reason why they have to keep this pushing this narrative. And this is the reason why you are seeing CSs. These are CS. Remember at some point, na CS hafai kuwa political. These are CS talking about they gave us 3 presidents. Why can't they let this president run? So they've decided, let's go 100% tribal. But let's wait and see how long that lasts. Alafu tuchekini ajijo. So what is it? Is it arrest Gachagua? And if you are arresting Gachagua, when are you going to arrest Gachagua? Wacha tungoje jo, tuone Gachagua kama ameekelewa jo, amezishikilia hivi. So I guess very soon tutakuwa tukisema Gachagua is the freedom fighter. Iko Nini.